Frankly, this is the IssuesWatch podcast. Hello, and welcome to the IssuesWatch podcast. I'm Brad Muniz, your host for the bi-weekly accounting and auditing episodes. I'm an assurance principal at Clifton Larson Allen. And back with me today is Frank Boudelet. There we go. An emeritus partner at Witham and my co-presenter for the Society's Law and Ethics webinar. Welcome back, Frank.
Glad to be here, Brad.
I'm sorry to see you lost your head.
I know. All the brains are in there.
There we go. Hello. This episode qualifies for Nano CPE credit. If you're interested in earning CPE credit for this episode, hit the pause button now and head over to njcpa.org/nano to find out how. A quick disclaimer, the views and statements expressed herein are our own and not necessarily those of NJCPA, CLA, or Witham.
Could be his.
Yes. Okay, Frank.
Yes, Brad.
So let me introduce a thought here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a thought. Anyway, an idea. So a while ago, SARS-8 came out.
Yes.
We'll tell you what the SARS are, but SARS-8 came out. It's a long time ago, where it allowed practitioners to provide management use financials. Mm-hmm. Now, these are financials that you prepared,
Right.
and you gave to management, and they weren't supposed to do anything with it. They never gave it to the bank.
Right. Yeah.
Never gave it to anybody else. So they knew that this was going on, and the AICPA, well, you know from our ethics stuff, that non-attest services started including preparing financial statements.
Right.
That was around 2017. So SARS-22 comes out right around then and says SARS-8 and management use financial statements is gone. So the world is good.
Seems to be.
Right. But if you were engaged by a client to prepare the financial statements, it's a non-attest service, even if it's part of the audit review or compilation, you're preparing the financial statements. You can prepare it, no report, and you can put on the bottom, no assurance provided, substantial disclosures omitted, blah, blah, blah. And those now can actually be given to anybody, right?
Correct.
Well, there's still confusion. We thought that the world was all good.
We did.
But there's still confusion.
Well, the confusion, Brad, is a lot of firms are doing client advisory services or controllership functions.
Okay.
Way back with QuickBooks.
Yep.
QuickBooks came out and the client gave you all their checks and you keyed it in for the client and you said, hold on. See that P button there? Print? Don't print yet. Let me walk out the door. So I'd run out the door and say, okay, print. And then you push the button because then I wasn't submitting the financial statements. Right. That's when SARS-8 came out about plain paper statements. And then SARS-22 came out. Now the issue, I believe, is that I know your firm, my firm, a lot of firms are getting into client advisory services. They're now being the back office for the client. They're being the controller. They're being the CFO. And the byproduct of the work that they're doing is they're creating a financial statement.
Right.
What does that financial statement fall under? Does it fall under preparation engagement, ARC 70, or is it under consulting services?
That's
the problem.
So now is it resolved? Is it done?
It's not resolved yet.
Oh, okay.
So what's happened is a lot of practitioners, like I know Witham does a lot of this, and I talk
we do too.
And you do too, and I talk to our people because, again, you and I are both peer reviewers, and we were like, wait a minute, you're giving a financial statement to the client. What are they doing with it? They're going to wait a minute, there's an issue here. So
and when we were doing the peer reviews, the people say, but no, wait, but I'm doing the bookkeeping. I'm doing the controller stuff for them. It shouldn't fall under that. And we're like, but you're preparing a financial statement. So now we're butting heads with the firms, and there wasn't really good guidance on it.
So now, with the RSEC, the Accounting and Audit, the
Accounting Review
Services
Committee. ARSC.
RCS.
It's like a bad pirate. ARSC.
And what did they issue, Brad?
SARS. ARSC, issue SARS.
You know what SARS?
Statement and standards for accounting review.
Say that again, slowly. Hey, Frankie, what do you think?
Statements on standards for accounting and review services.
So what they just came out with was an exposure draft. Okay, and the exposure draft, they're looking for comments. The comments are due by December 20th and 24th. So you all out there can comment on this, and there's 3 questions, and we'll go through those. So what they did was they said, let's redefine SARs, or let's make some changes in SARs to allow, under the consulting services, a SC 100, that you can issue financial statements and not actually be part of the independence issue, the independent part of the accountant, of the firm. And some of the things that they talked about was, and the reason they're thinking of allowing this is, under the consulting services, SC 100.
CS 100.
Why do I keep saying SC?
I don't know.
South
SARS,
Carolina.
because of SARS.
So SC 100.
CS 100.
CS 100. I'll just say red.
Just eliminate the I.
I know.
CS 100.
So it requires practitioners to meet general standards of professional competence. Also do professional care, planning and supervision, and obtaining sufficient relevant data. What's that sound like?
Sounds like every other area that
Engage, right? Auditing, reviews, comps, all the same thing. Well, you're required to do it under the CS 100 standards. Also, you have standards that you have to take the client's interest. You have to have understanding with the client of the services you're performing. So when they looked at that, they said, well, when you're preparing that financial statement, are you really doing a SARS engagement 70, or are you doing a consulting engagement? And RSEC said, you know what, we think we're okay with allowing this to be covered under the SC 100 standard.
CS 100.
How many times have
I don't know. Keep tally. Take a drink.
Take a drink. Drink every time I say it. So what they've allowed is they are allowing that in this, now they're rewriting the standard, amending the standard, so SARS is going to be amended to allow CS 100 to prevail on financial statements, because they believe it doesn't adversely affect the user's opinion of the financial statements.
Okay, I agree.
Okay?
I'm glad, and they're hopeful that I agree on these things. Go ahead.
They're hopeful, and under both, and they also determined that both are considered non-attest services, right? Because preparing a financial statement is a non-attest service. So if you're doing that under the SARS, that's compilation reviews, or doing under the SASs, the audit, you have to, in your work papers, document the non-attest service you're performing and all the safeguards that you have.
Right.
So the threat to independence. And they feel that the safeguards that are included in CS 100 would minimize the risk that a user would be misled by using the CS standards, by basically just saying that you prepared it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to help a lot of firms, because there was that, where does it fall? How does it, what do we do with it? Do we need to, because it would then fall under your quality control standards. But if you're doing a ARC-70, which ARC-70 sounds really important, but it's really the preparation standards.
Right.
So if you're doing that, it falls under your peer review. Go ahead.
No, but this is enormous. So
Yes.
Stop what you're doing and listen to this part. If it goes under under the preparation standards, it falls. Yes, now it falls under the SARS, and that is part of your peer review. So people are going to try and get it out of its peer review, and have it fall under the CS 100, the consulting standards. But you can't just say automatically, oh, every prep I do, boom, is a consulting standard.
Right.
Why?
Because you need to have an engagement to do a consulting services. And what are you doing besides preparing that financial statement? Are you doing other things? What other are you doing? Hiring, firing of employees. Are you doing the payroll taxes?
Meeting regulator review the stuff.
Review it, putting the information into QuickBooks or whatever software you use.
So they have to make sure that they are engaged, or whatever they're engaged for is the bucket it falls in. If you are just engaged to be preparing financial statements, you fall into your peer review, and your engagement letter better follow the SARS requirements.
Right.
If you do a consulting engagement letter and it just says, we're going to just prepare your financial statements, that smells like a SARS engagement. And now your engagement letter may not fall into the SARS.
So what they're asking for a comment is, do respondents, would be you people out there, believe that it is in the public interest to explicitly exclude financial statement preparation as part of a consulting services engagement performed in accordance with the CS Standard 100 from those engagements for which ARC Section 70 is required to be? Please provide reasons for your position. The next question they ask is, do respondents believe the proposed effective date? Because this is going to be effective for periods ending on or after 12/15/26. So this is for 2027. So it's several years down the road, but if this standard passes, it's going to early implementation is going to be permitted.
Okay.
Okay? And then the last part of this is they have, do respondents believe that the proposed paragraph, so they're going to put this paragraph in the SARS. Consulting services differ fundamentally from the CPA's function of attesting to the assertions of other parties. In consulting service, the practitioner develops the findings, conclusions, and recommendations presented. The nature and scope of work is determined solely by agreement between the practitioner and the client. Exactly what you said, the engagement letter. Generally, the work is performed only for the use and benefit of the client. So that they want to put that paragraph in SARS 70, and one of the things they're asking is that okay? Do you think that sentence covers what needs to be covered to allow a practitioner to use that? So I think this is a phenomenal standard, and I think
it's a phenomenal move forward. Now, here's the important thing.
Yes.
All too often, New Jersey Society, this organization, that organization responds to these exposure drafts.
Right.
This is your opportunity as a practitioner. Reach out to all your friends that should be watching, that are also practitioners. Have them send in a comment, even if they disagree.
Right.
This is something that directly affects you. When we go out and do CPE at a lot of the chapters, and you hear a lot of practitioners complaining, this is your opportunity to comment. No, I use this one. Yeah. So that sounds really great, and I want to thank you for bringing this to us, because I'm sure a lot of people aren't up on it. No. So, in closing, here are some upcoming accounting and auditing events that you might be interested in. On November 26th, learn about the new quality management standards and how to implement them in your firm. The Society's popular annual nonprofit conference is on December 5th. And on December 23rd, learn what A&A pros need to know about blockchain, Bitcoin, and digital assets. Get information on these events and more at njcpa.org/events. And of course, be sure to join the Society's Accounting and Auditing Standards Interest Group. Sign up for free at njcpa.org/groups. Frank, thank you for joining me again.
Glad to be here, Brad.
And to the audience, thank you for watching or listening.